There's a hysterical story. So it's the closing banquet. End of the year, it's when we honor and say goodbye to all of the leaving faculty and all this kind of stuff. And so the rector, and so Leon's there with his whole family. And the rector is sort of praising Leon and saying what a great job he did, all this kind of stuff. And he's like, and who knows the designs of God that one of your boys could one day be in this place, who knows? Yeah. And then, I don't remember which child, but he screams no. Like, he's like, no! I don't know what was going on, that like his mom wanted to do something or whatever, but he just screams no. Right as the rector's like, maybe he could be a priest one day. No! And just the entire room just erupts in laughter for like a solid 5 minutes.
Welcome, everybody. I'm here with Father Rhodes Bolster, who is the chaplain of the University Catholic. That's Vanderbilt and Belmont Universities. Welcome, Father.
Thank you. Thanks.
Really happy that you agree to do this.
Sure. Yeah. Happy to be with you.
Great. So tell us a little bit about your vocational journey and how you ended up at Santa Croce.
Sure. So I was born and raised right here in Nashville, about 10 minutes from where we are. Grew up with, my dad was always a faithful Catholic. My mom was a convert, so she grew up agnostic, Unitarian, then became High Church Episcopalian, and then became Catholic when I was 8. She beat me to First Communion by a couple months. And so taught by the Nashville Dominican Sisters, was an altar boy, definitely sort of in some ways a very Catholic upbringing, which is a real blessing. Went to Catholic high school. And while I was in high school, I started to be involved in a program called Fraternus, which is a young men's mentorship program through 6th through 12th grade boys, and has really sort of developed into being the sort of brotherhood of men. It's mostly kind of in the Southeast, although it's sort of spreading around. And just through that experience, I learned how to pray, that these men taught me how to pray, have a real interior life and relationship with the Lord. And then I was just so struck by their brotherhood. I didn't have tons of sort of Catholic friends or sort of younger people that I looked up to or anything like that. So having these young college grads, these cool men, these young professionals, I was like, wow, you guys are really cool. I want to just be around you. I appreciated all that. And so I started to grow in my interior life, and just very quickly, I experienced just a peace and a joy that I'd never really experienced before. And I was like, wow, well, whatever this is, like, let's keep going. Let's keep doing this. And I very quickly, similarly, wanted to bring about the same experience of growing in faith, coming to know not just about God, but actually know Him in other people's lives. And it very quickly just came like, well, let's be a priest. Like, I think that's what they do. So great. It's just like not a ton of like doubts and wrestling and like, this kind of stuff.
Wow.
It was just very certain from the beginning. And so we don't really have a lot of religious priests in the Diocese of Nashville. And so I knew some diocesan seminarians. I thought they were pretty cool. So I was like, great, I'll be one of them. Talked to our bishop, Bishop Choby, and he said, sounds good. He sent me to seminary in Ohio for 3 years, where I finished my college degree after 1 year in undergrad at Catholic University of America, not as a seminarian, just continued to pray and discern, but then I went to seminary in the Josephinum in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, for 3 years, so finished there, did philosophy there. And then from there, Bishop Choby in the spring said, what do you think about going to Rome? I said, it sounds like an adventure. Let's do it.
Wow.
And the men at that time did their first cycle studies, so their STB, their baccalaureate at Santa Croce. So went there and had a great experience, and continued there for my license as well, and was ordained in 2019. So we're coming up on 6 years this Sunday. So
wow, congratulations!
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's great to be here in Nashville with you for this important. As you run up to your anniversary, that's really wonderful.
Yeah, it's flown by.
You talked a little bit about really learning to pray. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Is that something that you've passed on to your college students here? Or?
Yes.
Because that's really step one, right?
Absolutely.
Once we learn to talk to the Lord and listen for His voice.
Everything else, yeah. No, that was what transformed me so much, because I grew up knowing a lot about the faith. My mom's a convert, so she because I have lots of non-Catholic family and a lot of very intelligent non-Catholic family, she really wanted to know her faith and was really strong in apologetics and had like apologetics flashcards and like the whole kind of dealio. And so I just grew up with that too, really enjoying all of that. The Nashville Dominicans, they're wonderful teachers. So I grew up with a lot of head knowledge. I was a really good kid as well. I followed all the rules. I only got one detention in high school that I didn't really deserve because everyone else was talking to and he just picked me, right?
Good
so
for you.
I knew all of these things. I did all of these things, and yet I knew there was something missing. I knew there was this ache in my heart, and I didn't know what was up because I was like, I'm doing everything you're telling me to do. But I know like there's something not here. I'm not totally happy. So once I started praying, once I started to realize that this wasn't just things to learn, hoops to jump through, which may be great hoops and true truths and all these things, but actually to realize that there's a God behind all this who's real, who's personal, who loves me, who desires a relationship with me, who sees me, and that I could talk to him whenever I wanted, just started to change everything. It started to change everything. And I remember being very awkward at first, in high school, like talking to God, like, hey, Lord, how are you? No, that's stupid. That's a stupid question. He's fine. He's perfect. He's perfect. I remember being very self-conscious, but you just sort of learn, right, in a relationship. And that's a huge thing that I try and pass on to my students, that if they walk away from here knowing how to pray, like mission success, that if they go through here and they're the president on campus and doing all these things, but they don't have an interior life, I've totally failed. Totally failed. So,
wow, that's incredible. How did you, from graduation or ordination to now, how did you end up here at UCat?
So, obedience, right? It's a beautiful thing. So it was an interesting path because of COVID. So I was ordained 2019, and I was halfway through the license, which is a 2-year degree. And so Bishop Spalding sent us back to finish that degree. And so got through the first semester, and then March 2020 hit, and it hit Italy. And so everyone was freaking out. No one knew what was going on. We went online for 2 weeks, and then they decided, like, everything's getting shut down, go home. So we came back to Nashville, finished the degree online in July, and was assigned to a parish in July. So I was in Franklin, which is 30 minutes south of here. At a very large parish there, St. Philip, which is very large, very active, very vibrant, has a lot of Hispanic ministry going on, which I was sort of mainly in charge of, which was a great blessing. And so after 2 years there, the spot of being chaplain for University Catholic opened up, and they said, would you move up there? I said, yes, Your Excellency. So
that's awesome.
So yeah, just finished
Were you
my third year.
excited to come here?
I was. It was unexpected. I didn't know the priest who was here would be moving, so it was kind of unexpected. But one of the priests who was really sort of founded and built up this program was a great sort of mentor to me. So I knew I was sort of standing on the shoulder of giants, but I was excited for it. I was excited to be with young people and help them navigate and sort of discover the faith in college and everything. So.
Oh, that's awesome. So what are the big concerns that you hear from students here as the university chapel?
Sure. I think a number of them. I mean, there's sort of standard concerns, I think, and then there's other ones once they start to think with the mind of Christ and once they come to faith and how to live that out and those kinds of questions. I think one of the things that young people in general are really grappling with is, a sense of belonging, a sense of identity, community, some of these things that I think just sociologically people are sort of seeing that they're looking for community, they're looking for, people to be friends with, to be in a community with. And so, college is a very unique time for that, right? They're all sort of, in general, usually uprooted from their places and come here, and so they're looking for friends, they're looking for people who are like them and things like that. And so we hope to be, a really good experience of community and fellowship and those kinds of things, friendship. And then I think the biggest concerns that I hear once they start to pray, once they start to frequent the sacraments, although there are a number of them that come in because they know this campus ministry is here and they're willing to go to these universities because we're here, because they know they'll be supported in their faith in those kinds of ways. It's similar to, I mean, I guess on the secular side as well, or just, I mean, there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, right? Young people are super lonely, all of these kinds of things. And so being able to provide not just the answer, but an experience of like the deepest remedy for those things in terms of an encounter and a relationship with the living God, and like his providence and the fatherhood of God, and all of those kinds of things, which are just sort of the bread and butter of our faith, which are so powerful for some of these students. And I think to be able to offer it in a way which is very rich, it's very deep, there is that sort of tradition behind it, because I think young people especially, right, they don't want inauthenticity, they don't want fake, they don't want the superficial. They're starting to see that like the sort of glamour and just fakeness of modernity isn't satisfying, and they're looking for something deeper. And so to be able to provide, a liturgy, which, as I try and tell them, I want this to be the most beautiful thing you experience all week, and they just they love it. Sometimes they're not used to that, right? And it takes a little bit of adjusting to, but most of the time they love it. They absolutely love it. So.
Yeah, there's a real transcendence there. I think that young people, when you're swiping through TikTok or whatever the app of the day is, you don't really get a lot of that.
Right, it doesn't satisfy.
It's like, here's the sort of raw animal moment that we caught people in, but here's the transcendent. Here's something which is so far beyond us that we don't even really fully or even partially understand it all. But we can encounter it in this incredible way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
One of my students actually, she started sewing vestments.
Oh, wow.
So she grew up sewing with her grandma and stuff, and I complained that, there's no local places anymore, right? You got to go to New York or Rome or London or California, or these things online. You can't touch the fabrics, you can't look at them, you can't see how they shine. She's like, Father, I could try and make something for you. I'm like, I will pay for the materials if you want to try. And so she did. And she's loved it and has started making some.
Wow, that's really cool.
Even for one of our retreats, it was during All Souls Day, and she made this incredible black vestment, and the bishop wore it because he came for Mass. And so walking in with him wearing that, she was like, this is the coolest moment of my life. Like, the bishop is wearing a vestment that I made,
Do you have Focus missionaries here?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have, because of the 2 universities I have, moving into this year, I have 6 missionaries.
Okay, great.
So because we're one campus ministry for both, we have sort of 6 serving both campuses.
Wonderful, wonderful. So let's talk a little bit about work post college.
Okay.
I'm sure that as students leave, there's a whole world out there that they don't necessarily know, and if they're not married by the time they're leaving here, they're going into it alone, maybe going back to their families. And there's a lot of, questions and just considerations that young people make. And one of the big ones that I always hear is that, I have to go and be a missionary, or I have to be a Catholic school teacher in order to serve God, because I can't do that at Cooper Neiman or, Chase Manhattan Bank. I have to do this. I can't do it as a home builder. Can you talk a little bit about just debunking that for these kids?
Yeah, it's a real sort of dynamic. It's a real tension. I think that they start to experience and uncover the more that they grow. I think some of them come in, not thinking about that yet, right? Maybe they're not super practicing, or whatever it may be. They want to be, the next greatest singer-songwriter at Belmont. It's a big music school. Or they're coming into Vanderbilt, planning to be a triple major and conquer the world, or whatever they're doing. And then they start to uncover their faith, and they start to realize that there is a deeper meaning to their life, this transcendence. And so they start to ask those questions like, oh wait, what does God want for my life? And for some of them, that certainly does mean missionary and priesthood and religious life and those kinds of things, which we're obviously super encouraging of and supportive of. And then for others, it is a very real question of like, okay, this faith that I've discovered and that I love in these, however long, 2, 3, 4 years here in college, like, what does that mean for my life now in terms of going into, biomedical research or finance or whatever it may be. So those are very real questions that they have. And I think that just the most that I try to sort of imbue them with is just sort of a spirit of hope and trust. Like, okay, if God is real and he is actually calling you to do this, and as I try and tell them all the time, like, God has a plan for your life. He has a mission for your life. There is something in his wanting to conquer the world in the kingdom of Christ. He has a place for you, in the big file, it's like page 75, right? And it's got your name on it, and it's got what you need to be doing, and you are like irreplaceable. Like, there's no plan B. Like, you have to do what God is calling you to do, what his will for you. And it doesn't look like this for everyone.
Right.
And so whatever that is, you need to do that. You absolutely need to do that. And so if he's calling you to go, and work for Caterpillar or whatever, then he's going to be with you there. And you're going to have to figure out what he's calling you to do, to glorify God with your work, to evangelize your coworkers, to see the good that you're doing and really, sort of show that forth and glorify God in that and all those kinds of things. And as I say, like, I don't know all the specifics. I don't know how exactly it's going to look and shake out for you, but he's going to be with you there. And so, just trying to connect them with other people who are faithful Catholics in the world, in the workforce, doing those kinds of things is always a really beautiful connection when I'm able to make and have them sort of see, okay, it is possible. I can do this. There's going to be challenges. But if this is the will for me, God's will for me, this is a great adventure. So let's saddle up,
Yeah, I think one of the other things that I hear quite often is, I have a friend up in Colorado, and he said, God wants you to make as much money as you can in the time that he's given you. That's how you're going to glorify him. And I'm like, okay, Steve, I think you're onto something there, but maybe we can refine it a bit.
That a little bit, but
we're going to refine it a bit.
Right.
So I mean, this myth that you can't be wealthy and holy at the same time. I mean, you don't have to give me any names, but have you ever met anyone who's both wealthy and holy?
For sure.
People, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think it is this, what you see in them it's not for its own sake.
Yeah.
Right? They're not just seeking money or wealth or, capital or business or whatever for its own sake, but they feel called to do something. They feel called to provide a good for society, for people in some ways. And if that is financially successful, okay, great. But it's not sort of the primary reason. And then I think these same people, what I see in them is to imitate the attitude of God the Father, which is generosity. Right?
Yeah.
To just to provide, to want other good things to happen. And so if as I have done, approach these people and say, hey, I've got this specific need. I want to bring this great musical group in for my students, but they cost $5,000. Can you help me? Absolutely, Father. Here's a check, you know? Yeah. That they don't see it like, well, this is mine.
Yeah.
So let me, it's like, no, they're seeing it in the attitude of the Father. And I think that's a real key difference.
Yeah, yeah. And they have that need to give too.
They do,
right?
Absolutely. It's a virtue.
Yeah. It's interesting. I've met a couple people who are just, struggle with that, and it's like, I love to see my balance sheet a little bit higher than what it was last month. And if I give away, 10, 20,000 of this, it's going to be a lot lower. But they really do, once they embrace that and start to be generous with their time, with their talent, with their treasure, it changes their whole lives.
Right, absolutely.
It's really beautiful to see. What kind of advice would you share with students? What kind of advice do you share with your students in regard to pursuing their careers after graduation?
Kind of what we've been talking about. I encourage them to really think of what is the good I'm trying to bring? What are the gifts that I've been given that he has not given to another? That, to whom much is given, much will be required. And so if the Lord has given you just an incredible mind for numbers or an incredible mind for chemicals and how that fits into the latest biomedical engineering is super big at Vanderbilt.
Is it?
And so I have students that go through there. I'm about to do one's wedding, actually up in Maine.
Oh, nice.
And she's, I think, doing a doctorate now somewhere. And she's just like the sweetest, holiest little girl. I mean, she's not a little girl, but she is like crazy smart, you know, and gonna do crazy good things. And it's because she recognized like, wow, actually God has been giving me a gift, and I need to, like there's this sense of obligation, of duty. Like, wow, he's given me this, and it's not just for me to decide whether I'll, you know, use that or not. Like I need to, like he has given this to me for a reason, which I think just goes into part of that sort of adventure and excitement of like, I don't know what that is for you. Your professors can't tell you what that is for you. You have to like discover how the Lord has been working and is working in your heart and life to bring about beautiful things in the world, in your life and in the world, to benefit others. And to think about that first, rather than just how can I make as much money as possible?
Yeah.
Or how can I, you know, get the bachelor's, to get the grad school, to get into the best doctorate, to get the, you know, it's sometimes there's this sort of ladder that they've already like decided they need to be climbing, and it's like, okay, that's great, but why? Like what is the goal here? You know, and asking that deeper why, I think is that's my job, you know. To help them think through those things, to see if like, well, that's great, you've got a lot of drive, but just make sure you're driving where the Lord wants you to go. You know.
Absolutely. What about just tips maybe that we could all benefit from as to how to really, you know, discern those next steps and how to grow in that closeness with the Lord?
Absolutely. I mean, it's totally an Opus Dei thing, but plan of life.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I tell the students all the time. I literally this morning just made a video for our social media, reminding them to like have a plan, you know, like when are you receiving the sacraments? When are you going to confession? When are you doing your mental prayer? Where are you doing your mental prayer? Like just all the really brass tacks kinds of things that, especially them for summer, like, oh, I've got all the time in the world. And suddenly you like, your spiritual life just tanks, you know? It's like, oh, I didn't pray all summer. It's like, well, like you have to have a plan. Like you shift environments, you go to a new city, you have to figure out where the parish is and when they have mass. I just encourage anyone just to be active, like to be, like you don't just happen to become a saint. It doesn't just happen to you, right? And God's grace is primary and it's first, and we don't merit that first grace. But he, once he gives it to us, wants us to dance with him, you know? And we have to be involved in that, engaged in that. And then it just snowballs, you know? And so just encouraging people to think actively of like, I mean, this is the process of conversion, Lord, right? Like, it's like, Lord, what's next? What do you want of me now? What do you want of me today? How better can I serve you? How more can I serve you? Who are the people that need a little bit more of me today? And it's always that little extra more done in just peace and freedom, which leads to like just really beautiful things happening.
Yeah. Wow, that's really beautifully put there, Father. Thank you. Thank you for that. What strategies do you share with students to help them navigate workplace cultures? You know, most of the companies that I mentioned are not Catholic, and you know, even having an image or a little crucifix on your desk could be, you know, stop you from progressing and moving up in those companies. So what kind of advice do you give students for navigating that dynamic?
I think the first thing I try and tell them is like you got to be a warrior. Like, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a challenge. Like, in some ways it is easier to, in that respect, go be a focus missionary or go work at a Catholic apostolate or something like that. That your coworkers, the people around you, your whole structure of life is ordered towards your holiness, and you know, just all those regular habits that a disciple of the Lord Jesus has. And if you want to go work at U.S. Bank or wherever, like, all right, you just have to know what you're getting yourself into, which is not a bad thing. Again, if the Lord's giving you those gifts and he's calling you to do that, like, let's go, you know? So then once they're there, how do we do it? Great question. I think one of the sort of spiritual practices that I try and inculcate in them, other than just like making sure you're actually praying every day, that you're receiving the sacraments regularly, on a spiritual level, is just the practice of the presence of God, just a super huge tool, tactic, mentality, habit to say, like, no matter what you're doing, no matter where you are, if you're in a big strategic meeting or if you're just crunching numbers at your desk or whatever, no matter what's going on, you always have this sanctuary in your heart that you can go to, that the Lord dwells there, even if you can't have Our Lady of Guadalupe posted up, or whatever it is, which would be awesome. But if you can't do that, okay, well, like, the Lord hasn't abandoned you, he's there. So no matter what, you can go in there and you can offer up the things that you're doing right there, And then concerning some of those more ethical kinds of things, again, part of that, just knowing what you're getting yourself into. Like, if there are those kinds of things, knowing what we believe, knowing who you are, knowing what are, the very thick black lines that you can't cross. What are the things that, okay, because of this time in my life, place that I am, all those kinds of things. There are more moral nuances concerning how much am I engaged in this? How bad is it? Is it bad? Am I, all those kinds of very tricky things that happen. Just encouraging them to really think critically, right? To think critically and say, like, okay, what's going on here? Not just to accept things as they are. Pray for prudence, pray for the gift of counsel, for the Holy Spirit to know, what are we asking of me right now? Whether to say something, not say something, all those kinds of things.
How do you counsel students who equate success with material wealth?
Again, I think just when I try and have a community, the kind of community here that people walk in and realize, like, oh wow, like, something's different here. Like, y'all are living a kind of life that's unique, that's special, that I don't get when I'm just around my other MBA classmates or whatever. Just to, again, get them to ask, like, that why question, like, what's the deeper thing here? And then to give them an eternal perspective, right? It's to say, all right, this is great, you're about this work, but what eternal reward is there? Like, all of this for the sake of what, right? That your material success, your credentials, all of the, whether you want to be the greatest PhD in classics or whatever it may be, that's awesome. But then what? And to have them see, like, all right, there is something more here. There is something beyond all of this, which very beautifully, providentially, if then you start to do it for an eternal perspective in the light of grace and God's glory and all those kinds of things, and this is the gift that he's been giving you, then it's going to be even more wonderful. It's going to be even better. And you're going to have even more of a drive to do it with greater excellence and goodness than you had when you were just doing it for your pretty selfish reasons, right? Or whatever it may be. So it's really just trying to shift that mindset.
What are the biggest challenges that you see college students facing in your work?
Sure. I think, as I mentioned, loneliness is huge. I think sometimes people just feel very, very lost, very confused. Whether they grow up Catholic or not, people are just looking for something solid. The culture is increasingly confused just about all kinds of things. And so I think people are just looking for something solid. They're looking for truth. They're looking for something just deeply good. And I think that's why, people are attracted to very extreme forms of different things, different extreme forms of religion, even within the church. People are gravitating towards very sort of intense expressions of things and those kinds of things. And I experienced that in my community because I experienced a lot of converts. There are a lot of converts here. Yeah. Okay. So this past spring, a couple months ago, we confirmed or brought into the church 13.
Wow.
Which is great. Yeah.
That's incredible.
And so it's always, campus ministry, it's always new. You're resetting every 4 years, right? Every year, a fourth are leaving or a fourth are coming. Or they're not coming yet, but you're trying to go get them.
Yeah.
And so it's always people like discovering things. And with that discovery, there's always excitement. There's always zeal. There's sometimes overzealousness, right? And so they, because I think people are so confused, they want to absolutize things that sometimes there is more gray or there's more nuance. and especially in the spiritual life, even sometimes I have to tone them back, and say, like, just because you're not praying through rosaries a day doesn't mean you're a bad Catholic, okay? Like, you can't create that judgment on other people, right? Just because you're like all about the rosary, that's great, but just like tone it down, there's lots of different expressions. So it's just, and it's interesting that I have to do that, right? You think that, well, you work with college students, like you're probably just dragging teeth or pulling teeth, right? Like most of the time I am, but even sometimes when they do get in, there's this extremeness because I think people are just, they find something solid and they just want to go all in.
Go all in. Yeah. And do you think that the things that you described, are they mainly a Gen Z kind of, or is this sort of broadly even outside of the university here?
I think it's more common the younger the generation is, right? So I'm a millennial, and I think I see it with my generation, but I think even more so with Gen Z.
Okay.
Because it's funny because even now we're starting to see them, like my like, we got smartphones in high school and things like that. These kids have had, smartphones since they were babies.
Yeah.
And, I mean, not quite, but basically, actually, some of them.
Yeah.
And it's funny because some of them, I think they're more quick to start to realize this is not good for me. Like I've had a number of students who, when we have retreats, like we're about to start, we're about to walk into the dining hall to have our first meal and sort of settle in. And I asked them, like, oh, you excited for the retreat? And they're like, yeah, I'm excited to give my phone away. Like, I can't wait.
Wow.
I'm so excited to not have this all weekend. And so they start to realize, like, wow, this is not good for me, but I can't do without it in my daily life. And so I think they're starting to wise up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the things that you have you. And that's not a good thing.
Yeah, not a good thing.
The phone is the worst.
Yeah. It's a unique kind of technology, right? Like people don't get addicted to their shovels, right? No. Don't get addicted to their calculators, but these smartphones, there's something special, something unique that,
Well, that's really surprising. I mean, I know that I've seen, younger people, younger generations, people in their teens and 20s, some of them really do hate the cell phone because that's what mom and dad paid attention to, you know, all their lives growing up. So they have this aversion towards it as well as this addiction to it because it, it flashes the things in your face. Dopamine, and it's your connection to your friends and, mom back home and wherever it is. But yeah, that's awesome. Let's circle back to your time in Rome. That's a very unique sort of place to learn and live for even a short period of time. What was the sort of most shocking thing? Did you speak Italian when you arrived there?
No.
Okay.
So I did 4 weeks of immersion in Siena before we actually started classes. But that was enough to make you realize like how much you don't know and be able to basically carry on a conversation, but then to be jump into sort of graduate level theology was daunting. But no, I didn't know it immediately.
Yeah. So overall Rome, what was Siena starting out, it's beautiful there.
It was, absolutely. It's an incredible experience.
Yeah.
For just so many reasons. I mean, just even as an American, like it just shifts certain sort of cultural things and societal things just about life and food and money and work and just sort of buildings and architecture and time, when you go to Rome and there's Chiesa Nuova, which was the church that St. Philip Neri did as oratory and all these kinds of things. And it was built in the 1600s, which is older than my country.
Yeah.
Chiesa Nuova literally means new church. It's like the new kid on the block, and it's older than my country. I was like, wow, this is wild. Some things from like the 20s here. It's like, wow, pretty old. So just like shifting so many of those kinds of things, and then just being in the Eternal City, right? Like to be around the Holy Father, to be around the Vatican, around so many incredible, beautiful churches and saints and their bodies and relics and where they walked and an incredible experience.
That's great. Did you when what was your first sort of experience of Italian food over there? I'm a big food guy, as people can tell.
It was, so in Siena, we lived with a host family. So it was myself and another seminary from St. Louis. And so we were with this Italian grandma, our nonna. So she would, we would come back to an incredible dinner every night, like most of the time eating on her little balcony sort of patio thing. So I mean, just like totally idyllic, right? Like, so just, incredible, just super, super delicious. Even at the seminary, we had Italian food for lunch every day, even though it was the American seminary. And there were still, by the end of it, there were still combinations of noodles and sauces that I'd never seen before. I was like, this is incredible.
Really cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, they're it's amazing what putting 8 hours into it can do to a manicotti. It's like something totally different than what was what you started with. What was the first thing that stood out to you about Santa Croce?
Certainly the experience of the universal church. I mean, you experience that in Rome. You go to an audience, you go to St. Peter's, there's people from all over. But I think it's a little bit more of a sort of intense, or not intense, just sort of a concentrated experience when you're in theology classes, right, with other seminarians, with religious, with some lay people from all over the world, right? Being taught in Italian, usually by a non-Italian, non-native speaker. So just this sense of like, wow, this is something way bigger than myself. The faith, the calling, right, to be with seminarians, again, from all over the world. One of my good friends that I still keep in touch with is from South Africa.
Oh, wow.
Others from, Ecuador and the underground church in China, and just all these very different experiences, even ecclesial experiences. But we're sitting there learning the same faith, one church, one faith, one baptism, one Lord, that kind of thing.
That's been passed on for 2,000 years.
Yeah, it's just like, wow, this is beautiful to be sitting here drinking from the same source as all of these people.
How about your classmates and professors? I mean, you talked about the one that you keep in touch with from South Africa. What kind of impact did they have on you?
I think it really, again, just sort of get that global perspective, and just being able to just sort of converse and joke around with and commiserate with and be afraid of the same exams and how it's all gonna, all those kinds of things together was a really, just a really beautiful experience. And that, knowing that, my friend from Ghana, who I don't keep in touch with, but know, like, if I ever wanted to go to Ghana, like, I got a place, like, fun. And he would, put me up, and that he's, again, there's this sort of a unity of not just the faith, but unity of mission as well. I think with some of these, especially seminarians, those who are priests now, just like we've received the same formation, same faith, and he's doing it in wherever he is in Ghana, and I'm doing it here in Nashville. And so just that sort of beauty in ministry, beauty in salvation of souls, which it's hard to get if you're all from the same diocese or even from the same region. And it's going to look very different culturally, and expression, and all those kinds of things for him. But so it was beautiful to just sort of have that experience together.
What about professors? Do you have a favorite? I promise not to tell.
For sure. Yeah, there were definitely some favorites. Pioppi, he was our church history. He was Italian. He was kind of this short guy, sort of talked to the side of his mouth. But he was like so entertaining as well. And he would sort of tell us stories, or not even stories, but it would just sort of draw out sort of a spiritual or theological lesson in the midst of things. I remember one time he was talking about so in the medieval era, and talking about just sort of the theologies that were going on at the time and things. But he also mentioned that, isn't it interesting, at the time, if there was an earthquake in the town, terrible, people, just tragedy, disaster. But then maybe the next day, the next week, they would hold a procession in thanksgiving to God that he spared them. And to ask for his blessing going forward and repenting for the sins that may have caused all this,
Yeah.
And he's like, if that happens now, what do people do? Immediately start trying to play the blame game, right? Whose fault is this? Why didn't they know? Why didn't they tell us? Like all these kinds of things. And he's like, isn't that just interesting, So you're just like these little nuggets of wisdom throughout, which is, just a joy.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
What about anything crazy ever happen to you over in Rome? Like, did you ever bump into like the Holy Father walking around or something?
Didn't bump into him walking around. When our bishop came over for our alumni, he was able to take clerics from his diocese, and so I was able to briefly say buongiorno to Pope Francis and shake his hand and then quickly move on because there's tons of other guys behind you. But other crazy experiences. I think it's just such a special place. Like there's just so many beautiful experiences that you're able to have going into different churches and even just like the station churches, which provides so much for even just how we think about and how it shaped like the Roman liturgy. I did my license in liturgical theology. So even just being able to like, it used to be that in the Missal you had like the ferial days of Lent or all the days of Lent, and then where the station mass was being celebrated in the city of Rome. Like we're at St. Lawrence today, we're at Mary Major.
Wow.
The Missal doesn't have that anymore, unfortunately. But, so to be able to go to all those places just gives a greater sort of just the embracing of like, I'm a Roman Catholic. Like the city of the Rome matters.
Yeah.
It really matters, and it matters to us. And to most people who are Roman Catholics, like, what does Rome mean to you? It's like, I don't know, it's the Pope lives there, But so being able to learn a little bit more of the history and liturgy and culture of our Catholicism is just really beautiful.
That's
Very beautiful.
Great. Yeah, we just had the installation mass yesterday installation mass, is that right? Of Pope Leo.
Oh, right, sure.
Yeah. So a lot of excitement over there in Rome. Are you missing it? You say maybe you wish you were there.
Somewhat, for sure. Yeah, I heard about the seminarians that we have over there that the days of the conclave, they were told like by their professors like, look, if there's white smoke, like, you're free to go, like not gonna be able to try to hold them in Moral Theology 1, while there's white smoke. And so they heard there was, and they immediately started running to St. Peter's.
Wow.
And we're there because, it takes, an hour or so by the time he actually comes out. So it's stuff like that. You're like, oh, that's cool. And it's just, it's one of the immense blessings of studying there that you're able to just go down to the square, to see the new Holy Father.
Were you, I was totally dumbfounded by an American Pope. I never thought I would see that in my lifetime.
Absolutely, yeah.
Or even my children's lifetime, to be honest with you. So it was a pretty big shock for me. But
yeah, same here, for sure. Yeah. He was saying the name, in Latin. I'm like, Robert France, I think that's an American. Is that an American? Like, looking at, like, he's an American, So, just crazy.
Have you been following closely like his homilies and the things that he's saying?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, just what he's saying to different groups and the cardinals and his big mass and everything. So, yeah, it's exciting. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing to see too, is just people are. It's just so great to be Catholic, right? It's like we have a father, and it doesn't matter who walked out. Everyone would be like, woo, it's like our dad, he's here, I think it is him, and quickly learning about him and just his sort of peace and presence and calmness and just sort of measuredness about everything is really nice, I think it's gonna be good.
Yeah,
I'm hopeful.
Yeah, God's in charge.
God's in charge. Yeah,
he seems like he just from the interactions that I've seen, it's interesting to, have that American sort of mentality when you're interacting with all these international leaders and that kind of thing. And it's pretty incredible, honestly. Yeah. How did studying in Rome impact how you think about the Catholic Church?
Great question. I think having that global perspective. Even just in terms of just people doing things differently, and just knowing that that's okay sometimes with certain things, right? And that just getting a sense of history as well. That if I take students down to certain places in South America where it's not as customary for priests to wear clerics, it's like, okay, we can talk about what current law is and these kinds of things, but also you need to know, like, this was forbidden under civil law for decades, and there's some of that it doesn't mean they're a bad priest. And, just like some of the mentalities that we get into, just start to like say like things are a little different, or liturgically things are a little different, or just the emphases you put on certain things can be, there's more than just one way of doing. So I think that global perspective has really been an immense blessing. I think too I love beauty, I love art, I love architecture, I love sacred music. So to be able to just kind of be immersed in that for 4.5 years was a great grace. We had a great choir at the seminary, but even just walking around and seeing Baroque buildings everywhere, and that was an immense grace to know what's possible, I think. To say like, hey, I know you're, again, some of this sort of restlessness or anxiety that students experience, it's like the heart is made for really beautiful things. And we have built really beautiful things and sung really beautiful things and lived really beautiful lives. And that's possible. Let's work towards that, even though you're sort of stuck in your sort of suburban, strip mall kind of, they just don't understand there could be more, so just to experience a kind of life that's just very different. And to be able to offer that to them is exciting.
Well, that's amazing. Anything else that you wanted to maybe share with the viewers here?
I think the real blessing that I saw being in Rome, studying at Santa Croce, and just seeing that, and would want that for as many people as possible, right? I know many of my classmates came from countries and dioceses that don't have a lot of resources to be able to send them. That my friend from South Africa, his stipend is like, monthly stipend is tiny. Like he can't do anything. And I receive in a month more than, what he receives in months and months and months. And it's just like to think that everything, all the beauty, all the things that I experienced, like to be able to provide that for someone, it's worth it. Yeah, absolutely worth it.
That's amazing.
So,
well, Father Rhodes, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you having us down here in beautiful Nashville.
Yeah, it was a great conversation. Enjoyed it.
Many, many prayers for your ministry.
Thank you. Thanks so much.